They say there's nothing lonelier than a motel at night. But I'd argue that's only true if the motel's actually empty. Mine wasn't. Not really. I took the job at Route 13 Motor Inn 6 months ago. Cheap pay, but free room and meals, and no one breathing down your neck. That was enough for me. The manager, a man named Frank, hired me after a 2-minute interview. Didn't even look up from his crossword. Just said, "You take the night shift, you keep the front desk clean, and you don't bother the guests. Don't knock on doors after midnight. Ever." I laughed. He didn't. He handed me a set of keys, all numbered, and a battered ledger book with smudged handwriting. "Write every check-in by hand," he said. "The computer's been down since last winter. And don't call the police for noise complaints. Just mark it in the log." I remember asking, "What if something serious happens?" He looked up for the first time. "Then pray it doesn't." Route 13 ran through a stretch of nowhere. Cornfields, dead gas stations, one bar that looked like it hadn't closed since the 70s. Our motel sat right at the edge of it. A 1-story row of 12 rooms, a buzzing neon sign that said vacancy, and office that smelled like old coffee and insect spray. My first night was quiet. 2 guests total. Room 5, a trucker. Room 9, a woman traveling alone. She asked for extra towels, smiled politely, and vanished behind her door. By midnight, I was sitting behind the counter, half asleep, listening to the clock tick. Then I heard it. Footsteps outside. Not on gravel, not the heavy boots of the trucker, but soft, slow, bare feet. They stopped right outside the office door. I got up, looked through the glass. Nothing. Just the parking lot and that red neon glow washing over everything like blood. When I sat back down, the phone rang. 1 ring. 2. 3. I picked up. Silence. Then, a whisper. "Room 9. She's not sleeping." And the line went dead. I checked the ledger. Room 9. The woman who'd checked in around 10. I stared at her name, Mara Hill. For a long time, I debated whether to go. But curiosity always wins. It's a poison that doesn't feel like one until it's too late. I grabbed the spare key and walked out into the cold. The hallway lights flickered as I passed. The air smelled faintly of rain, though the sky was clear. When I reached room 9, the door was open, just a crack, enough for light to leak through. I knocked once. "Mara, you all right?" No response. I pushed the door open. Empty. The bed was perfectly made. Her bag was gone. But the shower was running. Steam rolled out from the bathroom. I knocked again. No answer. I stepped inside. The shower curtain was pulled shut. "Mara?" I pulled the curtain aside. The water was running, but no one was there. Just a single hair tie sitting on the drain. I turned off the water, walked back toward the front desk, trying to convince myself she'd just left in a hurry. Except when I sat down, I noticed the ledger. A new entry. Same handwriting as mine. Same pen. Room 9. Checked in 12:17 a.m. Guest name, The Sleeper. I didn't write that. I flipped through the previous pages, my entries from earlier nights. Some of them were different now, too. Names I didn't remember writing. Dates from before I started working here. The more I turned the pages, the older they got. Yellowed,
burned at the corners. One page had a note scrawled across it in thick, uneven letters. "Don't let room 9 go dark."
The office lights flickered, and through the window I saw it, the neon vacancy sign. It had changed. Now it said, "Occupied." I went back outside. Room 9's door was shut now, no light inside. But from behind the door I heard breathing. Slow, steady, like someone asleep but dreaming something terrible. Then I realized it wasn't one person breathing, it was many. When I came back to the office, there was a note taped to the counter. Old paper, smudged ink. Never open room 9 after midnight. It doesn't belong to them anymore. I looked around for who left it. No one. The clock read 12:43. The phone rang again. I answered. "She's still not sleeping." Then the voice changed. "Neither are you." And the line cut. I stayed awake until sunrise. By morning, the sign outside was back to normal. Vacancy. Frank showed up at 7 sharp. I asked him if he'd written the note. He didn't even look at it, just took the keys from my hand and said, "Good, you didn't open it." Then he added, "You'll learn the rhythm soon enough. Every motel has its regulars. Ours just checked in a long time ago." Morning comes slow out here. The light doesn't rise so much as it seeps in, thin and pale through the cracks of the blinds. That morning, it didn't bring relief. It just showed me how filthy everything looked in daylight. Frank was counting cash behind the counter. He didn't mention the phone calls, didn't ask why I looked like I hadn't slept. Just handed me a mug of stale coffee and said, "You'll get used to it." He left before noon. He always left before sunrise. Said he had other properties to check. I was alone again by the time the sun hit the fields. The motel's day shift wasn't mine to worry about, but I stayed up anyway. Sleep didn't feel safe. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard that whisper on the phone, "She's still not sleeping." By mid-afternoon, a storm rolled in, the kind that comes with no warning. Sky turns green, thunder crawling just below the horizon. I stood under the awning watching it build. That's when a car pulled in.
Old Ford, mud-caked. The driver was a tall man in a faded coat. He asked for a room. No luggage, no ID, just cash. I told him we didn't take walk-ins until check-in at 6. He smiled, thin and cracked at the edges. "I'm already checked in," he said. "Room 7. I looked down at the ledger. Room 7 was blank. When I looked back up, the man was gone. The car, too. Just the smell of wet asphalt where it had been. I tried to convince myself I was losing it. Maybe I dozed off standing up. Maybe the storm messed with my head. I went back inside, flipped through the ledger again. Room 7, still blank. Then, before my eyes, the ink started to form. Letters bleeding through the paper like sweat through a shirt. Room 7, check-in 2:47 p.m. Guest Mr. Ash. The pen was still in my hand. When night came, Frank didn't show. No call, no message. Just me, the empty rooms, and the rain. Around 11, headlights cut through the downpour. A car slowed in front of the lobby, idled, then pulled away without stopping. I saw a face in the passenger seat, pale and wide-eyed, staring straight at me as it passed. Looked like the woman from room 9, Mara. I ran outside into the rain. The road was empty. No taillights, no tracks.
When I turned back toward the building, the sign was flickering again. Vacancy, occupied. Vacancy, occupied. Switching faster and faster until it went dark completely. Then the office phone rang. "You checked him in," the voice said. "He doesn't leave." The line clicked. I yanked the plug from the wall. The phone kept ringing. I threw it to the floor. It still rang. I left it and walked the corridor, every instinct screaming not to. The air smelled of mold and rainwater. Each door I passed looked a little older than the last. Paint flaking off, brass numbers turning black. When I reached room 7, the knob was wet, like someone had just used it. I pressed my ear to the door. A man humming, soft, low, a tune I half recognized from somewhere, maybe the radio, maybe a dream. I knocked. The humming stopped. Then, from inside, a voice that wasn't quite human, too deep, too layered. "No vacancy." I stumbled back. Every room light in the row flicked on at once. Behind each curtain, a shadow moved. 12 rooms, 12 shapes, all turning toward me at the same time.
I ran for the office. The power cut out halfway there. The side outside blinked once, occupied, then went black again. I locked the office door and waited. Hours, maybe. No footsteps, no voices, just the rain. At dawn, I dared to look out the window. The parking lot was full, every single space. Cars I'd never seen before, all old, all covered in the same layer of dirt and dust, like they'd been sitting there for years. When I checked the ledger, every room had a name now. Some written neatly, others carved deep into the paper. Room 9, the sleeper. Room 7, Mr. Ash. Room 3, the couple. Room 12, the clerk. That last one stopped me cold. I hadn't written it, but it was my handwriting. I waited for Frank again. He didn't come. He never came back after that night. By evening, the power was steady again. No storm, no phone calls, nothing. For a few hours, I thought it was over, until I went to the break room to make coffee. The pot was already half full, steaming, and someone had left a note next to it. "Welcome back to the shift." The signature at the bottom was mine. By the 3rd week, I stopped checking the clock. Time didn't mean much anymore out here. The sun rose, the sun fell, and the motel stayed exactly the same. It was like the place existed outside everything else. The days blurred. I'd sweep the lobby, wipe the counter, and stare out at the road that never seemed to lead anywhere. No passing cars, no visitors. Just wind through the fields and that humming neon sign that felt like it was beating in rhythm with my pulse. The silence was heavy, but it wasn't. It started again with the ledger. I came in one evening and found it already open on the counter. A page torn out. No trace of it anywhere. The remaining pages were worse. New names appeared in handwriting I didn't recognize, sometimes written over old entries, as if the old guests had been replaced. Others scrawled in thick black ink that bled through to the next page. I tried to rip them out. The paper wouldn't tear. The pen wouldn't write over the names. When I closed the book, I noticed something strange. It was heavier than before, like it was filling up with something that wasn't paper. That night, I sat at the desk and listened. Somewhere down the hallway, a phone was ringing. We hadn't had room phones in years. Frank said the motel removed them after an incident, but the sound was clear, sharp. 3 rings, then silence. The guests standing in the thresholds facing me. Mara, Mr. Ash, the couple, dozens more I didn't recognize. Their mouths moved together, voices merging into one low tone. Check-in complete.
The sign behind them flickered. No vacancy. I stepped back. The pavement rippled beneath my feet like water. The motel lights brightened, humming so loud it rattled my teeth. I fell to my knees. Everything went white. When I woke, it was morning again. The office was clean, the parking lot empty. The sign steady, vacancy. Frank was sitting behind the counter, sipping his coffee. He smiled like nothing had happened. Rough night? I couldn't speak. He slid the ledger toward me. New shift. Need your signature. The page was blank, except for one line written at the top. Clerk, Thomas Hale, start date, permanent. I looked up at him. My name's not Thomas. He didn't answer, just nodded toward the guest board on the wall. There, under staff, was a photo. Old, faded. A man standing in front of the motel, smiling. Name tag, Thomas Hale, night clerk. He looked exactly like me. I stared at that photograph for a long time. The smile looked wrong. Too wide. Too proud, like a man who didn't realize the camera had already captured his ending. Frank watched me, still sipping his coffee. He didn't blink once. Finally, he said, "Everyone finds their place here. Some faster than others." I tried to move, but my legs felt heavy. My clothes were dry, but the air around me smelled like rain again. The same scent from the first night I heard her breathing through the door of room 9. I told Frank I wanted to leave. He didn't answer, just closed the ledger, tucked it under his arm, and said, "No one leaves during a full house." Then he walked out into the morning fog. I was alone again. The motel hummed faintly like a living thing. I walked the corridor, checking each room. Empty. Beds made, lights off. But when I reached room 9, the door was ajar. The light was on. I should have kept walking, but curiosity always wins. The room looked the same. Fresh sheets, no bags, no guests. Except on the wall, above the bed, someone had carved a message deep into the plaster.
"Don't let room 9 go dark." The words pulsed slightly, like they were breathing. I backed away and hit something behind me. A figure. A woman. Mara. Her eyes were pale and hollow, her lips cracked. She spoke in a voice that didn't belong to her. "You opened the door." I told her I didn't mean to. She smiled sadly. "No one ever does." Her body collapsed into dust. Only her voice stayed. "He's awake now." The light bulb above me burst. The room went dark, and from the bed came a sound, a slow, heavy exhale. When I woke, I was lying on the floor of the office. The clock said 11:59 p.m. Outside, thunder rolled, but no rain followed. The neon sign glowed red, not vacancy, just a single word. Stay. The phone rang once, then again, then non-stop. I answered it. "We need another clerk," the voice said. "The last one checked out." The line crackled. "You'll do." I dropped the phone, but the voice continued, not from the receiver, from the walls, the vents, the ceiling. "Write it down. Sign your name." I turned to the ledger. The page was open to the bottom line. My pen already there. Clerk, Thomas Hale. It was my handwriting. The front bell rang. Someone had come in. A young guy, mid-20s, backpack, tired eyes. He looked around nervously. "Hey man, you open? I need a room, just for the night." I tried to warn him, tried to tell him to run, but my mouth wouldn't move. The words wouldn't come. My hands worked instead. They found the pen, flipped the ledger, and wrote automatically. "Room 9, check-in 12 a.m. Guest, Daniel Reese." I slid the key across the counter. He smiled with relief. "Thanks, man." He turned toward the hallway. Halfway down, he stopped and looked back. "Hey, is it normal the lights flickered like that?" I almost answered, almost told him to keep walking, to never look inside the room. but all I could do was nod.
He disappeared into the dark. The door to room 9 shut. Click. And for the first time, I heard something new. A voice behind me. Frank. "Congratulations," he said. "You handled your first check-in." I asked him what this place was, what it wanted. He smiled, eyes empty. Same as any motel. People come, they stay, they leave. We just make sure the lights stay on. I told him I didn't want this. He nodded. No one ever does. That's why it works. He placed the ledger back on the counter. Then he handed me the bell. "You'll get used to it. The nights are long, but at least you'll never be alone." He walked out the front door and vanished into the fog. I sat behind the counter. The sign outside flickered once. No vacancy. Then went dark. The phone rang again. A woman's voice whispered, "She's still not sleeping." The same words from the first night. The same tone. I looked down at my hand. The pen was moving on its own. Check in, clerk. Check out. Never. The clock on the wall froze at 12 a.m. Outside, the neon light flared red again, and I realized what Frank meant. The motel doesn't take guests. It takes caretakers. I'm recording this now for whoever comes next. If you find this tape, don't sign anything. Don't take the key. Don't answer the phone after midnight. And no matter what you hear, don't open room 9. Because once you do, the motel remembers your name, and Route 13 has no exits.